that is it possible? Suppose if I have a various brands of cars and various features, characteristics, can I able to rank depending upon my requirement that which car I should go first, right? Or which car I should buy, or which is affordable car for me. That that particular question be addressed using multi-criteria decision making. There are number of MCDM techniques, multi-criteria decision making. When I am saying that MCDM in short it is called, and there are number of multi-criteria decision making techniques. Out of that, analytical hierarchy process, that is one of the method used for what we can say ranking the various alternatives or making a decision when there are more than one criteria and these criteria are competing with each other. So decision making is the act of choosing between two or more courses of action, may not always be a correct decision among the available choices. There may have been a better choice that had not been considered, or the right information may not have been available at that time. So sometimes it happens that even we have selected one option, one choice, and then later on we found that the better choice was available. At the same time, the right information at that time was not available. Because of that, you have gone for the alternative, which you would have not gone if you have a right information in your hand. Multiple criteria evaluation problems consist of finite number of alternatives explicitly known in the beginning of the solution process. So like I asked you a question that you wanted to buy a car. So that was a compulsion that you have to buy a car. Then I asked you to write the name and brand of the car. And when you are selecting that brand of a car, I asked you why. So multiple criteria evaluation problem consists of a finite number of alternatives. There are n number of car companies, and each company have number of models again. Out of that, you have to choose one and reply. At the same time, you have to reply with answer that why you wanted to go for that specific car. That is the point which is explicitly explained on this slide, that multiple criteria evaluation problems. It is a multiple criteria evaluation problem. Suppose for the car problem itself, suppose you wanted to buy a car of a segment of 10 lakh rupees. You find A, B, C, D company, and this A, B, C, D company have different features of car. So sometimes it becomes it becomes difficult for you to go for A company car, B company car, C company car, or D company car and a specific model. Why? Because you are choosy about certain features of the car. There are many features of the car, and out of that you wanted to select few features with the budget of 10 lakh rupees. So multi-criteria evaluation problem consists of a finite number of alternatives explicitly known in the beginning of the solution process. So you know you need AC, or you don't need AC. You know that you need anti-brake system, or you say no, I don't want anti-brake system. You know that you want the safety airbags, right? Or you say that no, I'll compromise with airbags and I'll go for a what we can say the another feature of the car. So depending upon, suppose in 10 lakh budget, you will try to have maximum possible features which you feel that you should have in your car. That's why it is written that multi-criteria evaluation problems consist of finite number of alternatives. That is number one, that is A, B, C, D brand of cars, and explicitly known in the beginning of the solution. And you are knowing that you need comfort, you need AC, you need a specific type of a light, you need specific type of a horn, you need navigation system, etc., etc. So these choices are known to you in the beginning, and out of that you have to select a one which is really a alternative of your specific choice. In multiple criteria design problems, multiple objective mathematical programming problems, the alternatives are not explicitly known. An alternative can be found by solving a mathematical model. So what happens that in case of multi-criteria design problem or selection problems, you have A, B, C, D company car, an n number of features, and out of that, for a fixed budget, you wanted to rank the models of A, B, C, D car in particular way, such that you can select out of them one specific model. Say that you will go for this model or another model depending upon the various characteristics of the parameters of that specific car, and out of that you wanted to select the one which have a highest score for that company's car and model you may go. So the number of alternatives is either infinite or not countable when some variables are continuous, or typically very large if countable when all variables are discrete. The MCDM problems can also be divided into two major classes with respect to the way the weights of the alternatives are determined, that is compensatory or outranking decision making. A rational decision making model in which choices are systematically evaluated on various criteria. Attractive attributes of an alternative can compensate for less attractive ones. Means if you have a good budget, that someone has replied in the chat that he wanted to buy a Audi, that means he is not having any constraint of budget. He is having a budget and he wanted to go for the best car. So attractive attributes of an alternative can compensate for less attractive ones. But suppose the one who wrote in the chat box Alto car, which is a small economical car, naturally he is having a constraint of budget, and looking to that constraint of budget, he is going for what you can say, though the Audi car is available, but he may go for less attractive car, that is Alto. Why he wanted to go for Alto? Because he is having the budgetary constraint. A compensatory model, because a positive score on one attribute can outweigh a negative score on the other attribute. So though the Audi is good, but the budget is limited, the one is going for the Alto car and not for that of the Audi car. So that's why it is written that the positive score on one attribute can outweigh a negative score on the other attribute. For example, this already I have given that example of car and petrol efficient car and petrol non-efficient car. So depending upon your budget, you may go for the petrol efficient cars and rather than going for the what we can say inefficient car. The AHP and fuzzy logic decision making (FLDM) are two most popular examples of compensatory MCDM, which are widely used to solve decision making problems and various decision support systems worldwide. Occasionally, a decision will involve a non-compensatory strategy also. For example, a parent may reject all soft drinks that contain artificial sweeteners. Other good features such as taste and low calories cannot overcome the selection of any particular type of a soft drink, because parents don't want them to have any kind of artificial sweeteners added into that specific software. This is an example of non-negotiable attributes. So for example, a rational design, in this method, one option is said outranking decision making. In this method, one option is said to outrank another if it outperforms the other on enough criteria of sufficient importance and is not outperformed by the other option in the sense of recording a significantly inferior performance on any one criteria. All options are then assessed in terms of the extent to which they exhibit sufficient outranking with respect to the full set of options being considered as measured against a pair of threshold parameters. Multi-criteria decision making refers to making decisions in the presence of multiple usually conflicting criteria. MCDM can be classified into two categories, MODM and MEDM. MODM means multiple objective decision making. It can be used when mathematical model is there. MADM, multiple attribute decision making. Selection is based on finite or limited number of alternatives. MADM, that multiple attribute decision making. AHP is one of the method of MADM. So SAW, simple additive weight method, WPM, weighted product method, AHP, analysis hierarchy process method, and TOPSIS, they are the example of MADM technique. Now, what is AHP? So AHP is one of the most popular analytical techniques for complex decision making problem. In SATE 1988 developed AHP, which decomposes a decision making problem into system of hierarchies of objectives, attributes, and alternatives. AHP uses multi-objective method of comprehensive evaluation and network system theory, breaks down factors which have an important correlation with decisions into the target, criteria, index layer, and then carries out quantitative and qualitative analysis on this basis. The analytical hierarchy process is a structured technique for organizing and analyzing complex decision problems. AHP allows some small inconsistencies in judgment because human is not always consistent. It allows both objective and subjective analysis. This is an example of application of AHP in pharmacy. What is the design steps of AHP? The AHP design steps are: first, define the problem, develop a hierarchical structure, then compare the pairwise comparison of the parameters, develop pairwise comparison matrix, obtain responses, check consistency of each response. If consistency ratio is less than 0.1, you have to go ahead with the priority ranking. If consistency ratio is more than 1, again you have to go for the comparison matrix, or you can reject that particular option response for which the consistency ratio is less than greater than 0.1, right? And then you go for priority ranking, and out of that you can select the best alternative. So first step is setting up of the hierarchy process. So what is the meaning of hierarchy process? So this is our published paper on solid waste management in the Journal of Korean Journal of Civil Engineering. In that paper, we have tried to identify and assign weight of indicator influencing performance of municipal solid waste management using AHP. So in this particular paper, analytical hierarchy process is used to evaluate solid waste management system of particular population range cities. Cities will have different population, like metro have more population, than you have 50 lakh cities, you have 1 crore plus cities. So in this paper, we have tried to evaluate municipal solid waste management system of cities which is having populations between 25 lakh to 50 lakh. In this paper, a 3-level hierarchy model has been developed. What is hierarchy model? As I have explained you in my previous slides, first of all, you have to set the hierarchy. So what is the hierarchy? So what is our goal? The goal is evaluation of solid waste management system. That is goal, and level is 1. What are the factors which affect the solid waste management system? So broad factors which affect the solid waste management systems are coverage, transportation, disposal, consumer complaints, unit cost, outcome, storage, recovery, recycle, and environmental aspect. These are the criteria at level 2. What are the factors which affect the coverage? So if I talk of coverage, what it should include the coverage? So coverage should include percentage area covered under waste collection, numbers of waste collection depots, right? And all the parameters which are affecting the coverage, like number of sweepers, number of persons, number of trips, right? Distance from the transfer station, etc., that will come under the coverage. Similarly, transportation. So when we talk of transportation, what are the percentage of spare vehicles? How many numbers of vehicles are employed? What is the capacity of vehicle? What is the running time of this vehicle, etc.? That can be those factors which affects the transportation need to be considered at level 3. So sub criteria level 3 is what? It is those criteria which are affecting the parameters of level 2. And level 2 criteria are those criteria which affect the evaluation of entire SWM system. So this is the paper with DOI I have mentioned over here, which you can download from KSCE journal, and you can study how the ranking of solid waste management system of various city has been carried out using analytical hierarchy process. This is the another paper which explain the criteria where you have to select a earth moving equipment. So sustainable earth moving equipment, when you wanted to select, what are the main criteria? So these are the main criteria: social benefit, environmental impact, operational convenience, system capability, performance, life cost, etc. What are the sub criteria? So for life cost, LCC1 and LCC2, they are these two criteria. Similarly, performance, 7 criteria, system capability, 6 criteria, operational convenience, 6 criteria, environmental impact, 10 criteria, and social benefit, 7 criteria. And you have A, B, and C options. Means there are 3 machines, earth equipment machine produced by manufacturer A, manufacturer B, and manufacturer C. So what is my goal? My goal is to rank this A, B, and C, right? Depending upon the main criteria and sub criteria, which will have a highest score, I may go with it for buying of that particular earth moving equipment. There is an application of analytical hierarchy process for sustainable procurement of construction equipment, multi-criteria based decision framework for Malaysia. This paper is published in the Journal of Mathematical Problems in Engineering, Hindwai, and these are the authors who have published this particular paper. You can refer this paper also for a ranking of it, right? Then we talk about the car. Okay, and this is the paper. Sometimes you feel that, sir, we are new or we are ME student, and how we can do research, or is it possible to do research at the ME level? We do not have sufficient knowledge of the subject, these and that. Please let me tell you, these are all excuses. If you know, as you are attending this specific STTP, probably you will come across infinite opportunity to do research work in future. Why? Because there are experts who will be explaining you the application of soft computing technique in various fields, and believe me, all soft computing techniques are very easy to learn. Not only to learn, but it is very easy to even apply also, provided you read thoroughly about the method, you practice properly about the problems which have been analyzed by various researchers using this particular the particular approach we wanted to develop, what we can say mastery, or we wanted to use for your specific problem which you wanted to solve. So in the beginning I talked about the car, and in that I said that you have to select a particular car. I have made a compulsion that you have to write a name of the car along with the reason which brand of car you want and why. Okay, here there is a AHP approach of selecting a specific brand of car. So what he says, an LRTK hierarchy process approach with a novel framework for luxury car selection. So it is fixed now. Now where we are using the AHP, we are applying AHP to select luxury car. Now once when we identified that we wanted to select luxury car, okay, so what are the parameters? Number 1, quality criteria, reliability, technology, brand image, right? Suppose you have Audi, right? Then it's considered as a status symbol, right? Or Ferrari, then it is having again a brand image, then flexibility, performance, price. Okay, so these criteria you need to you need to consider for selection of luxury car. The question which I asked in the beginning of this particular session, that which please write me the name of car and why you wanted to buy that specific car. Instead of luxury car, you can develop the same research paper for budget car. Right, trying to write all the criteria like whatever we have listed here. You can list those criteria here, and the method which I will show you during this session, you can directly apply to it, and you can develop a research paper, that selection of budgetary car using analytic hierarchy process, or anything else you wanted to think that you wanted to apply and solve very easily. You can do that at the end of this session. Only thing that you please pay your 100% attention to what I am explaining you. Okay, so relative importance matrix. So as I said, that first level is what we have seen here. Also, the first level was the goal, second level was the criteria, and third level was the sub criteria. So in this also you wanted to select a luxury car. So for the selection of luxury car, you have to develop a relative importance matrix, where you have to do pairwise comparison. Pairwise comparison means what? Quality is compared with reliability, quality is compared with technology, quality is compared with brand image, quality is compared with flexibility, quality is compared with performance, and quality is also compared with the price. And I'll show you that how it is to be done. There is a scale 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9. This scale shows 1 means equally importance between two parameters I and j. Suppose if I take quality here and quality here and performance, right? And if I ask some of you here in the center, this is 1, this is 3, this is 5, the 7 and 9. 7 and 9. Okay, and similarly we have 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9 on quality side also, right? And if I ask someone of you a question that for luxury cars there are two things, quality and performance, right? What will you like to prefer? You want both, then you can tick mark here, that is 1, right? Both are equally important. Some of the participant may say, sir, no, it is I feel that the performance should be better compared to that of the quality, so he gives 3. Third one, he says that no sir, I believe that the performance should be absolutely overtake over that of the qualities, then he will take at 9, right? There is some student, some participant who will say, no sir, quality for me, quality is first, performance is next, then he can tick mark this particular 9 towards the quality. Means this is a divide line. When we do pairwise comparison, this is a divide line in which the weight which is in favor of quality are marked on this side, and the weights which are in the favor of performance, they are marked on this specific side. So suppose someone says that I am giving the this performance 9, then automatically when you compare performance and quality, performance here and quality here, right, it will be reversed, right? Then you will be tick marking here. That means if you write a matrix in which you are writing QP, Q and P 1 upon 9, then in the column of P by Q, it will be 9 here, right? Because you are saying that or you are giving 9 here, sorry, if you are giving 9 here, then automatically in this P and Q column, this will become 1 upon 9, right? This is the quality column. I'll further explain this in detail, but this is the meaning of what we can say 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9, and these are 2, 4, 6 and 8 are intermediate attributes. Someone will say that sir, ye kahan se aaya? This is the given by SATE, right? This analytical hierarchy process method has been developed by SATE, and this is the SATE scale. The relative normalized weights, then the next step is you have to find it out, the normalized weight of each attribute. Then to check the consistency of weights, consistency index is to be find it out. So consistency index is equal to lambda x minus m upon m minus 1, where lambda x is maximum eigenvalue, m is the matrix size, Ci is the consistency index, and Ri is randomness index. This Ri randomness index is also given by SATE in 1982 for a matrix of 3 by 3.52 value and matrix of 10 by 10, which is having a value of 1.49. What is these attributes 3, 4, 5? So as we have seen here, the example of luxury car, how many attributes are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So it is a 7 by 7 matrix, right? You will compare 7 matrix, 7 parameters with 7, means on this side you write quality, reliability, technology, brand, flexibility, performance, and again you write here on this side also quality, reliability, technology, brand, flexibility, performance. So it will give you a 7 by 7 matrix, and it will be a 7 by 7 matrix. The randomness index is 1.35. Right. So once you have got the CI, and once you and it founds to be okay, your weights are correct. And those weights which you have derived, that you can multiply with the scale for a specific selection of a specific parameters, that and summing up it will give you the score of that specific alternative, that we will see in the next few slides. When we talk about the comparison, I have already explained you what is the comparison. Again here, if we have three things, apple, banana, cherry, so it will end these three parameters you wanted to compare, means someone, I am asking this question to a group of people, and where I wanted to know that which fruit is like most, right? Or I wanted to develop a sort of weights for this apple, banana and cherry, right? Then I'll compare apple with apple. If I have asked one of the participant about how you like between apple and banana. So that participant like banana more 3. So what I will do when I will compare apple and banana, he has given banana 3. So I will write 1 by 3. If he has given 3, then I would have write here instead of 1 upon 3, I will write 3. When I compare apple and banana, again I repeat, when I compare apple and banana, this is the divide line 1, and someone has given weight towards the banana, then I will write here 1 upon 3. But someone has given apple more, that is 3 towards the apple, then I would have wrote 3 here instead of 1 upon 3. Similarly, I asked a person, oh, which fruit you like most, apple or cherry. He marked it towards the apple. So in the line of apple, when I compare apple with apple, apple with banana, apple with cherry, if the expert has marked it towards the left side, I will write the same weight. And if the expert has marked the right hand side weight, I will write it in 1 upon 3 form. So that is 5. Okay, automatically when I compare banana and apple, now banana and apple, the expert has marked towards the banana. So here automatically it will become 3. So this is 3, 1. And banana and cherry, I asked someone banana and cherry, and the participant has marked 7 for what you can say banana. So towards the banana it is 7. So when I comparing banana with the cherry, he has marked towards the banana, so I will write 7. So when I compare cherry and banana, then what will happen? This 7 will become 1 upon 7, right? And when I compare cherry and apple, so what is apple and cherry? 5. So this will become 1 upon 5. So finally, my weights which are given by experts are 1, 1, 1, 1 by 3, 5, 3, 1, 7, 1 by 5, 1 by 7, and 1. So this is my final matrix which I got after carrying out the survey of 3 parameters which are affecting criteria for selection of fruit, right? One specific fruit out of 3, right? Asking the experts. So this matrix is given, that then you have to prepare a comparison selection matrix as it is shown for the car. We have 7 parameters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and again 7 on this side. So it will give you 7 by 7 matrix for that specific example which I have given you. Particular example, the matrix, we have asked the experts, we carried out the comparison, and after carrying out the comparison, I got the comparative matrix S, which is shown over here as a 7 by 7 matrix, right? So what are the limitations of AHP? Very different alternatives cannot be compared. No constructive guidelines to the structuring the problem. It was found out the constructing hierarchy differently may yield significantly different results. Suppose if I give same problem to solve two participants or 3 participants or 4 participants, probably for the same alternative, same weights, you may get the different answer. When to aggregate the opinions, that is upon the person. Group discussing the issue is better, but not always feasible. So sometimes it happens. Suppose if I want, instead of now car, if I want that, we wanted to go for contractor selection for civil engineering construction work. So naturally you need to take the opinion. You have prepared the parameters and you wanted to have a comparative matrix. That naturally you have to go to the persons who have involved into that particular business. You cannot select the people of group who are not aware of the problem which you have undertaken. Rank reversal, rank changes when another alternative is added to the group. What happens that you have 4 criteria and you add 5 criteria, automatically what will happen? The score will also get changed. Time consuming and not recommended beyond 8 by 8 matrix. So please remember, this is one of the major limitation, that AHP is not recommended beyond 8 by 8 matrix. It can be good for 3 by 3, 4 by 4, 5 by 5, 6 by 6, or 7 by 7 matrix. So after explaining you what is AHP, now we will solve an example based on the AHP, which is a real-time problem, and you will be happy to what we can say the solving this particular problem specifically. So I want all of you to be ready with pen, paper and computer. Our example is flood risk exposure indexing of watershed using AHP. Flood risk exposure, it is exposure to floods, right? And watershed, what is watershed? You can have a basin map like this. This is a basin map, and this basin map have different watershed. You just see here different color are marked. This is watershed 1, watershed 2, this is watershed 3, this is watershed 4, and this is watershed 5. And there is a river. See, this is a river which is flowing here, which is joining here, and it is flowing like this.
So slide is not visible.
Oh, sorry. I didn't share it. This in Microsoft Team now it is not taking automatically the sharing. We have to after sharing we have to select a particular tray. Okay, is it visible now?
Yes, sir. Now it is visible.
Okay. So again I will repeat. The problem is of flood risk exposure indexing of watershed using AHP, right? So what is this is a flood risk exposure, and what is watershed means? So for that I am showing you this figure. This is a river basin, and the river basin have various watersheds which contribute water to the river which is flowing through that particular watershed. So this is one river. I will use the pointer so you will get idea. So these are all tributaries and it will be flowing. This is the river. This is again tributaries which makes some storage maybe here, some small dam maybe here, which may be joining here further. This is again a river body, right? And this is also river body, and then the water is flowing further. So the water may spread in these watersheds, watershed 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 during floods. And I wanted to find it out what is the flood exposure vulnerability of these watersheds, means which watershed is worst affected by floods. If the flood comes, then which particular watershed will be worst affected by the floods. So for that purpose, we have some parameters. What are the parameters? We have considered the parameter watershed, slope, land use, land cover, soil, drainage density and rainfall. Please write down. The question is the watershed characteristic of the Koshi River Basin is given in the table. Rank the watershed against flood exposure hazard using analytical hierarchy process. So this table you note down in your notebook. I give you 2 minutes. Please write down this table. Those who want to master AHP, please write down this table. If you solve this problem, I am very much sure that you can able to solve other problems also using published research paper on AHP as well as the method which I will be discussing in the subsequent slides. Done? Someone of you unmute and say, sir, done. So that I will go ahead.
Done, sir.
Okay.
Done, sir.
Now, this is the scale which also you have to decide, though I have prepared it over here, but you will not find for your problem when you wanted to apply analytical hierarchy process. Depending upon the problem under consideration, you have to divide and give it rating, right? So for all factors, there are 5 factors: slope, land use, land cover, soil, drainage density, and rainfall. Based on the percentage of slope, plain terrain 1, mild 2, medium 3, and high 4 rating. Then for land use, let's go water 1, agriculture 2, built up 3, forest 4 rating. Soil clay 1, loamy 2, silt 3, sandy 4. For drainage density 12%, 4, 13 to 15%, 3, 51 to 15%, 2, and more than that of the 15%, 1. And for rainfall less than 500 mm, I said the vulnerability is less, and when the rainfall is between 1000 and 1100, the vulnerability is high. Exposure vulnerability is high, that is 1. So 1 represents high values and 4 represents lower values, which leads to flood. 1 leads to high flood exposure vulnerability and 4 leads to less flood exposure vulnerability. This also you note down. 1 explains high flood exposure vulnerability. So 1 is high vulnerability and 4 is low vulnerability. Please note down this also. 1 is high vulnerability and 4 is low vulnerability. If you are done, say done, then I'll go to the next slide.
Done, sir.
Okay. So now next step is this is the watershed that already I have explained you. Next step is the these values in which there are linguistic variables. Give them value as it is shown in the next slide. So water. So water, what we have given here 1. So you write 1 for water. Watershed second. Second is what? Second is agriculture. And for agriculture we wrote 2. So you write 2 here. So like that you fill the table without linguistic variable and with all numerical values. Write again. Don't cut and write in same table. Write again, repeat the table with all the values, because this table will be useful throughout your computations. So now next step, that is a normalization. Normalization means what? This is watershed 2. Slope. Okay, so 10. 10 is minimum and 38 is highest. Sorry, 54 is highest. So in case of slope, less than more vulnerable, less than more vulnerable. So you choose minimum value and divide this entire column by 10. Do it in your notebook. Choose minimum value and divide it by all the values. So 10 divided by 20, 10 divided by 33, 10 divided by 54, and 10 divided by 38. 10 divided by 20, 10 divided by 10, 10 divided by 33, 10 divided by 54, and 10 divided by 38. That is called normalization. And you will get the values 0.51, 0.3, 0.185, and 0.263. Have you got this value?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Then
sir.
in case of land use, when there is a water, more vulnerable, right? So minimum value is good. Now to normalize, divide 1 by 1, then divide 1 by 2, 1 by 3, 1 by 2, and 1 by 4. That is for land use land cover, normalized matrix. 1 divided by 1, then 1 divided by 2, 1 divided by 3, 1 divided by 2, and 1 divided by 4. That is for land use land cover. So you will get the values 1, 0.5, 0.3, 3, 0.5, 0.25. That is the normalized matrix. For slope also, 1 means highly vulnerable. So select minimum value 1. So 1 divided by 1, 1 divided by 3, 1 divided by 4, 1 divided by 4, 1 divided by 2. Then for drainage density, the higher is better. So 0.061. So 0.061 is there. So 0.00. Now here opposite 0.011 divided by 0.061. Please check. So 61% चले, क्या टक्का चले? तो हाँ 0.011 divided by 0.061. Yes, for this column 0.011 divided by 0.061, 0.035 divided by 0.061, 0.041 divided by 0.061, and 0.061 divided by 0.061, and 0.025 divided by 0.061. Rainfall higher is the vulnerable. So when the value is high in the column first, second, and third, the value is low. Okay, the value is lower than other values. Then you have to divide the lowest value by the given value. And for column 4 and 5, the value is higher value than all other values. Then in that case, you have to divide the given value by the higher value. Okay, so 950 by 1150, 850 by 1150, 450 by 1150, 1150 by 1150, and 750 by 1150. Done. Then you got this matrix.
Done.
Check your values. Have you got this particular matrix, normalized matrix?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now
Done, sir.
the next step is the pairwise comparison 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Okay, and these parameters which we have done the normalization, we have to compare them among themselves, which is called as a pairwise comparison. And after pairwise comparison, you can prepare this type of a matrix. To prepare this matrix, you need to develop a questionnaire survey form, and that questionnaire survey form, what is the kind of or type of questionnaire survey form which is required to be prepared, that I will show you if I have it. Just give me a minute. Okay, just I will show you how the comparison is to be carried out, and meanwhile I'll get time, then I'll just can you able to see this slide? Hello, are
Yes,
you
sir.
able to see the slide?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in this case, what you have to do, you have to write slope here, right? And land use, land cover here, soil here, drainage density and rainfall. These are the parameters which you write in a column manner. At the same time, you write slope, land use, land cover, soil, drainage density, and rainfall. Okay, then sorry, this will not be here. I'll use a new slide. So for pairwise comparison, we'll write here the parameter, suppose slope. Okay, then what is the next? Please, otherwise I have to go back. What is the next? So here is slope.
LULC.
Here is how many parameter total? 4 or 5?
5.
5. So 1, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Slope you have to compare with LULC. Okay. Then what is next? Next parameter?
Soil.
Next.
Drainage density.
Then next is drainage density. So this is drainage density. Then next.
Rainfall.
And then next. That's all, na? Okay. So you have to prepare a pairwise comparison in which you will be writing parameter slope here. You want to compare slope with land use, slope with soil, slope with drainage density, and slope with rainfall. Okay, how important they are with respect to each other, that you have to ask the expert. So this is one scale, this is 3, this is 5, this is 7 and 9. Okay, these are the scale. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 on the right side and 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 on the left side towards the soil side, 7 and 9. And this questionnaire sheet, those who are working in the area of flood modeling or flood risk, you have to share with them and ask them, sir, give us weight of all these parameters. So when we are comparing the slope with land use land cover, let's say the expert feel that land use land cover is more important than that of the slope. When we compare the slope with soil, the expert feel that the soil is more important than that of the slope. When we compare slope and drainage density, the expert feels that the drainage density is moderately important than that of the slope. And when we consider slope and rainfall, he feels that rainfall is extremely important over that of the, what you can say, slope. Okay, and this way you have to collect the comparison format survey. This is called questionnaire survey, and this survey you have to carry out. And carrying out this survey, you have to collect the opinion of number of experts. Minimum number of experts should be 30 to 40. Means you have to either mail or you have to visit 30 to 40 experts of your area to collect the opinion about the weights which you are comparing. Once they give this weight, then suppose you got 30 experts you contacted, and 30 experts said when we compare slope and land use, he gave 5 value to slope. 1 minute. Huh? So you contacted 30 experts and 30 experts have given slope and land use. Some have given 5 value. You have got 5. Then some has given 3. Some has given 2. Some has given 1 upon 3. Some has given 1 upon 5. Some has given 1 upon 7, etc. Right. So there are two methods of computing one value. One is geometric mean method, in which you multiply all 30 responses raised to 1 by n, raised to 1 by 30. That will be the final value of slope and land use land cover. And that final value of slope and land use land cover, slope and land use land cover, which has come 1 by 3, that you have to write here. That is one method, which is called as arithmetic mean method, which you have derived after multiplying weight of 30 experts raised to 1 by n. Or there is another method which is called arithmetic mean method. As the name itself suggests, arithmetic mean means you have to sum up all the responses of slope and soil for 30 or 40 respondents, sum up it, right, and divided by n. So whatever value will come, that will be the final value 1 upon 3, right? So here for this example, I have circulated this questionnaire to 100 experts. Those 100 experts have sent me these 100 files, these 100 files also I have verified for consistency ratio, which will be going to verify next in the next step. And when I found that the expert opinion is less, the consistency ratio is less than 10%, I have used it for finding out the final weight. I have used it for finding out this final weight 1, 1 by 3, 1 by 3, 1 by 5 and 1 by 7. Right. Similarly for land use, for soil, drainage density and rainfall. Now what the student do? Some of you that as I am solving this problem and you are in search of some topic to be done for dissertation or some another work, you directly take this table, or in your research paper you wanted to take directly this table. No, that is a wrong practice. This will vary from problem to problem and expert to expert, and therefore either using the arithmetic mean method or geometric mean method of the opinion received from the questionnaire survey, you have to prepare this specific table. Right now to solve this problem, you write down all these weights in your all this response which we got that in this table in your notebook. Done? Hello, is it done? Am I audible?
Hi, yes, sir.
So after writing, getting these parameters, the next step is weight. So what do you do to find out the slope, weight of the slope parameter? You multiply this first row 1 into 1 by 3 into 1 by 3 into 1 by 5 into 1 by 7 raised to 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 values 1 upon 5. Okay, that will give me 0.316474. Here it is written. For first line, it is shown here. Similarly, you do for second line. So that is 3 into 1 into 1 by 3 into 1 by 3 into 1 by 7 raised to 1 by 5. That will give you this value. Then third one is soil. 3 into 3 into 1 into 1 by 3 into 1 by 7 raised to 1 by 5. That will give you 0.844. Similarly for drainage density, similarly for rainfall. Please find out this relative weights. This is step 4 in which you have to multiply all the rows raised to 1 by 9 and work out these values for slope, land use land cover, soil, drainage density and rainfall. Okay, after finding out these values 0.37, these values, sum of these values, the sum of that is 7.427212. After computing these individual values, now do summation of all the values, which comes out to be 7.427212. Then each value of this table, step 4 table, divided by this sum will give you final weights. A2 is 0.0426100540, 0732, 11.23, 0.5390. How I got this weight to weights? These values divided by the sum. Point that is shown here, for slope it is shown below. That this value divided by sum, this gives you this value which is written over here. Similarly, you do for land use, land cover, soil, drainage density and rainfall. Done. So A2 are my weights. Now we have to check the consistency of this weight. The weight which we have derived, whether these weights are correct or not, that we wanted to check. So for that, we have to go for the next step. So before going for the next step, I give you few minutes to complete A2 matrix. Okay. So after this, once you got A2, we have to multiply A1 into A2 matrix. This is A2 matrix 0.0426100054. So A1 is what? This one is A1 table. Okay. So 1 into 0.0426 plus 1 upon 3 into 0.073236. See, it is shown over here. How I have multiplied A1 and A2 matrix. So 1 into this, 1 upon 3 into second weight, 1 upon 3 into third, 1 upon 5 into next, 1 upon 7 into next. This is 0.2314155, which gives me 0.228202. You have to multiply A1 and A2 matrix. This matrix is A2 matrix and this matrix is A1 matrix. Right? So slope with slope, land use with land use, soil with soil, drainage density with drainage density and rainfall with rainfall. So this is the values. A1 into A2, that will give me A3. How is this this point 0.228202 value I got? The calculation is shown over here also. And here it is shown that how you got A3 matrix, that is A1 into A2, that is A3 matrix. Once you got the A3 matrix, then you have to find out A4 matrix. So what is A4 matrix? A3 0.0228202 divided by A2 value, respective A2 value. So what is the A2 value for this? 0.04261005. So this is shown over here. So that will give me all the values of A3 divided by all the values of A2. That will give me A4 matrix. All the values of A3 matrix divided by all the values of A2 matrix will give you these values. I am giving you a few minutes. Please complete A3 matrix and A4 matrix both. Then we'll go ahead. This step 5 is called check for weights by consistency index. So we got weights in A2 matrix, but whether these weights are consistent or not, that check we are performing as step number 5. So find out A4 matrix and then do sum of it. Sum of all the values of A4 matrix, which comes out to be 26.52517. So once you do the sum, then lambda max equal to sum A4, sum of all the values of matrix A4 divided by size of the matrix. So n is equal to 5. So lambda max is equal to sum of A4 divided by 5. That will give me 5.305034. If I am going fast, please tell me. Hope those who are solving the problem they are getting enough time to do computations. Lambda max is equal to sum of A4 all the matrix divided by 5. Anyone is solving with me? Say yes, sir. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Those who are solving this problem along with me, I will give them gift at the end of this lecture. So done up to this lambda max. Up to
Yes,
lambda
sir.
max, everyone done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then consistency index is equal to lambda max minus m upon m minus 1. What is m? Matrix size. You got lambda max value 5.305034 minus 5 divided by 5 minus 1. That will give me consistency index as 0.076258. So consistency index is 0.076258. We need to determine consistency ratio. That is next step. This step number 5, why we are doing, why we are computing? To check the derived weights, that is A2, have consistency ratio less than 10% or not. So to check that, we are performing step number 5. So consistency ratio is equal to consistency index upon randomness index. From where we get the value of randomness index? This has been given by Sati for various matrix sizes, for 3 by 3, 4 by 4, 5 by 5, 6 by 6 matrices. So in our case, our matrix is 5 by 5 size. So randomness index is 1.11. So consistency ratio which you have worked out 0.076258 divided by 1.1, which gives me 0.068701, which is less than 0.1 or less than 10%. Hence our derived weights are okay. This is step number 5. So now sixth and last step, that is rank. So rank is equal to B1 into A2. What is B1? Let me go back. This table is my B1. And what is A2? These weights are my A2. Again, I repeat. B1 is our normalized matrix. This is my B1. B1. Okay. And A2, my weights. 0.042. So to find out score of first watershed, what I will do, 0.5 into 0.042, 1 into 0.073, that is weight, 1 into again weight, 0.18 into its weight, 0.826 into its weights. So it just gives me 0.695133469. That is point watershed number 1. Similarly, you do for second line, third line, fourth line and fifth line of matrix B1. means multiply the first line with 0.51 0.18. Point 0.511 0.826. So this is watershed 1. So you have to multiply all these values with respective weights of it. Then for second watershed also you have to do all this value with its respective weight. Third also, fourth also, and fifth also. That will give me the score. All values multiplied by its weight, it will give me the score. Do it for watershed 2, watershed 3, watershed 4, and watershed 5. So higher the score, more exposure will it have. So watershed 4, highest exposure vulnerability. Watershed 1, second highest. Watershed 2, third. Watershed 3, that watershed 5, that is fourth, and watershed 3, that is less vulnerable, 5. So this way we have worked out the ranking of watershed in order 4, 1, 2, 5, 3. So in this, 4 is having first rank. This is first, having highly exposure vulnerability. Then 1 is second. This is another vulnerable, that is second vulnerability, second rank from exposure vulnerability point of view. Then second watershed, that is third vulnerable. This is second, third exposure vulnerability, right? Then fifth, that is fourth vulnerable, and third, that is fifth vulnerable. One, two, three, four, and 5. This is first. So this way we have classified this watershed for flood exposure vulnerability. Watershed 4 has highest vulnerability to floods, second, third, fourth, and fifth. So how many of you have done this exercise along with me? Type yes sir in chat or yes in chat. Let me see how many of you have done. One, two, three, 4. Okay. So at least 4 or 5 people have done. 5. Some more are typing. Okay. So for them, those who have done this exercise along with me, I ask your coordinator to gift them one thing which I'll be showing you, sharing with you. Let me first take it out. Those who have not done the exercise, Darshan, don't give them.
Yes, sir.
So you count those who are writing yes sir in chat. Okay.
Six participants have wrote the yes.
Okay. Fine. Now participants, please look at this. We have worked out this. We did the entire process and work out the weights, right? Final A2 weights 0.06, 0.08, 0.09, 0.21 and 0.056. Our weights are slightly varying than this. Of course, 3 weights are almost near. 4th and 5th weights we have some variation. But this is the software. And the software got these weights after 5 iteration. Check it over here. This is the 5th iteration. After that, they got these values. So this is the AHP software by which you can find it out the weights, not the final answer. That B1 into A2, which you have done, na, that you have to do yourself. But step number 5, where we check the consistency ratio, that you can check directly using this particular software. You have that matrix, right? Where we wrote 1, 1 by 3, 1 by 3, 1 by 5, 1 by 7. That matrix which was shown in the slide, you have to fill these values here. And once you will fill this value, automatically it will compute the weights and the consistency ratio. See here that CR ratio is 8.1%. Right? And how many iteration the software have done? The software have done 5 iteration. We have done only 1 iteration and our values are like this: 5%, 8%, 12%, 22% and 53%. Right? So entire 5th step you can omit using this software or AHP Excel sheet. I will share this AHP Excel sheet with Darshan, and Darshan will share with those, right, who have done the exercise along with me. Okay. So that way this will be very useful to you. You can directly, what we can say, use this Excel sheet and can do the computations directly. So if you have any question on this AHP, whatever I have taught you till now, you please ask me a question. Please ask me. If not, then I end my hands-on practice session here.